Hi Soul Tribe, how's everybody there? Hope you're having a lovely day, and if you need a little inspiration, I'm here to provide it. This is Julie from Soul Bridge Holistics, and I'm here to guide you through the latest topics that I see on the news. For example, is God real? And are medbeds real? And are aliens real? Let's roll three controversies into one. Is God real? So, the definition of God from everyone who's crossed over and come back is that God is full consciousness, absolute love, divine inspiration. God has actually spoken directly to people. They see it as an enormous, intensely bright white light. And God has said that Jesus is the messenger or the son, you know, the human portrayal that we could use as a representative for somebody that we would interface with, that is directly speaking for God. So it is not surprising that Jesus is a gatekeeper and people who cross over all see him. This is not religious scripture I'm quoting. It's people who have crossed over and came back and directly interfaced with Jesus. And Jesus said, I am the way and the light and the truth, and no one gets to heaven except through me. Spend a second absorbing what that means, okay? When we talk about light, and I tell you that you're a luminous being, and that namaste means I see the light in you, there are some words. I think the Bible starts with, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And you're asking yourself about vibration, and light, and I want to say waves of vibration, waves, right? Energy waves. If you think of in the beginning, everything is on an intellectual level. Everything is pure thought. And then it manifests into waveforms. And then it manifests into light. So first it's words, and then it becomes light. And then later on it solidifies into more solid type things that we recognize. Energy being solidified into form, and molecules being solidified into form. If you imagine the progression of that slowly, and it can be as easy as watching a plant grow, watching an egg hatch, watching something that looks like it's forming from absolute nothing, grabbing molecules around us and growing bigger and bigger. Everything in the world is following a pattern like that. And then there's a point where it peaks, and then it starts to regenerate, and then it starts to degenerate, and then it starts to go back to its source. It goes back to the molecules. It goes back to its energy. It goes back to the pattern of where it came from. That is an ebb and flow. It's a kind of wave. It's every kind of regenerating energy. It's a kind of rebirthing. It's a kind of renewal. And we are always trying to rejoice and celebrate the renewals in our lives, those patterns that ebb and flow, the times when something stops and something else starts, the point, the hesitation, when we're waiting for an egg to hatch or a seed to erupt or a new job to start or a baby to be born or the marriage date to come or, you know, your divorce papers to be finalized. I mean, whatever it is, those transition periods are times when you hold your breath. There was an astronaut who said that when he landed on the moon, people were saying, we're all turning blue here, but we can start breathing again. So that tiny pause between when something's about to happen and when it finally manifests. You're looking at miracles. You're looking at free will taking place. You're looking at manifestation of God. And I keep watching these experiences of near-death. It's called near-death experiencers. The experiences that they have when they're, dead for 10 minutes or even 20 minutes, or they're in a coma for a week or a month or months, and then they are put back into their body and they come back and they tell you everything that they saw and did on the other side, and who they interacted with and what they were learning and the lessons that were there. And this comes back to you no matter what religion or what ethnicity, what race, what color. People all have these experiences. I just watched a near-death experience of a Buddhist who really didn't believe in God at all. He did a lot of chants in foreign languages. He was told that if there is God, it's a really angry God, and he has to keep doing the chants and prayers or he won't please God, only to find out when he had an overdose and started to fall. He said, I started to fall into not a white tunnel going up, but a dark tunnel going down, and found himself in a bed of fire with tons and tons of souls there. He could see all their shadows, and he's like, I'm not sure how much of them were human, but I can tell you that everybody was in pain, and the kind of in pain that he had when he was trying to stab himself in the center, the stomach, and have his drug overdose experience, and the kind of loss that he was feeling, and the depression that he already had going into that, what was going to be a suicide, that he was pulled out of that by people on this side praying for him. And I always talk about how powerful prayer is and how important it is. But his mother's friends brought a group together to the hospital to pray for him while he was basically in a coma or going through surgery, and he was out of it for 8 hours, and they thought he wouldn't make it for sure because he had 2 surgeries and so many blood vessels that had been cut or destroyed, or he had gone through some sort of a episode, like a psychotic episode with drugs in his system, busy cutting himself and having a knife fight with the police, apparently. People who are under the influence of heavy drugs in a in psychosis, a psychotic state, are very dangerous because they don't mind harming others or themselves, and they may end up with some sort of involuntary suicide because of their inability to comprehend where they are or what's going on around them. Police with bats try to apprehend that person and hold him down and handcuff him or tie him up for his own self-protection because he's out of his mind, and he will end up running into traffic or jumping off a roof, or in this case he was basically trying to cut himself to pieces. That person says because of that negative mind space that he was in, because he didn't believe in God, because he didn't believe he had a future, he plummeted down into what he perceives as hell. And he says, it is a real place that I perceived, with purple mountains all around it. It was like a giant bowl filled with fire with people standing in it, very, very crowded, body to body. And he said it was a place of absolute despair, but he was pulled out of it by people's prayer. So a couple of things that we can derive from that story, that testimony. One, that when you do prayer, it's very positive and helps you to get clarity. Two, if another person prays for you because you're unable to pray for yourself, that still has a lot of power. They can pray for your angels and spirit guides to listen to you, to listen to them, to help you. And so the derivative, I think, together, sort of a group prayer, synthesis kind of thing, happens, and you derive benefit from that prayer, that group prayer that's done for you. And then the energy shifting into something positive. So they always talk about God's grace, and all that grace is the ability to take your ignorance and the things that you don't understand and forgive you for not knowing, because in this life you weren't exposed to everything and you don't know everything. And there's some things that you still need to learn. So learning about spirit guides or learning about God may not be something that you were exposed to. The other thing is the idea that Earth is millions of years old, and it's not the only planet in our galaxy, and our universe has millions of galaxies. If you actually look at a map of what's out there and all the galaxies that we've discovered and the ones that are still too far away that aren't even named, just in our galaxy, this one galaxy, there's how many kinds of planets? Because only in the arm that we're in, are we in the Perseus arm? Our arm has one little dot that has a sun with our planets going around it. That's just one little dot. And imagine how many dots there are, how many suns there are, how many different kinds of planets are in little groups everywhere, and there's life on those different planets. There really is. And we're not the oldest one. We're not the oldest galaxy. We're certainly not the oldest life form. And we're not the only beings who are living on a planet. So the idea of aliens, it's an interesting word, because the word alien means something that's foreign or someone that you don't recognize. So an illegal alien is someone who jumps the fence and comes over to our country without proper paperwork. But an alien, in general, is going to be someone who came from somewhere else, right? That's the definition of the word. Are they aliens if they've been living underground or living in caves, or their UFOs dive into the ocean and they have underground bases? They're not really aliens if they've been here all this time. In fact, some of the ones who were here for the seeding of our Earth beings onto this planet are older than us, and some of them have ridiculously long lifespans. The Zeta Reticuli say that they can live anywhere from 600 to 900 years. The people of Nibiru in the Bible, it shows that those older humans lived over 900 years, and the people of Nibiru have, their lifespans were measured in I don't remember the word now, how many revolutions of their planet around its sun. It was like 36,000 years, ridiculously long lifespans. So not only are we not the longest lived, and we're not the most intelligent, we're not the only beings out there. So it is true that God can be called by different names. In Islam, it's Allah, and in the Quran, it says that all the beings on earth and in the heavens worship Allah. Take that one in for a second. All the beings in heaven and on earth. So they're including all of the other planets, the other galaxies, the whole universe. All of those beings understand that there are angels in charge and that there is God that created everything. And you see all that when you cross over. It becomes abundantly clear that you are a child, that you are loved, that you were always loved, that you are not alone, and you're not the only beings in the universe. So I think that the constant exposure and this constant talk of alien beings, they're just beings, okay? They're beings that have slightly different looks than us. A lot of them have arms and legs and heads like us. They have slightly different skin color because of the exposure of different minerals on their planets. They eat various different things. They may have slightly different organs. They may digest things slightly differently. But it's no more bizarre than when a Native American met a Mongolian, an Asian, an African for the first time and said, "You're differently colored. What do you eat? And what do you speak? And does your language make any sense?" And after a little bit of cultural exchange, you get accustomed to the idea that, oh, this person has a language, a family, culture, customs. They have a lifespan of X number of years. They came from this planet. They ingested these types of plants or animals that were native to their area that look most like ours here, so they may or may not be able to ingest what we have here because our viruses and our life forms are a little different, and they could be kind of toxic to us. You have to ask yourself where dogs came from, because on this planet they can't ingest chocolate or onions. There are certain kinds of foods on our planet that are dangerous to canines. Also, ask yourself where camels came from, because some of those animals were seeded from other places. Camels, they're digestive organs and the digestive organs of llamas, goats, cows. They're very different in how they digest foods, and some of them cannot eat certain kinds of plants because, for example, giving them too many apples or giving them too sweet things or certain kinds of weeds will create conditions in their gut where it becomes too acidic or filled with fungus or some kind of fermentation issue or something that will cause them to pass away because they're not used to, their digestive tract is not made for those types of animals. So yes, it's possible that the animals and the plants here were carried from elsewhere, and that they occasionally touch base in like a desert or some place where they think you're not around, so they can take little plant samples, like when you go on vacation and you take some seeds back from Turkey or a cutting that you see in China. Of course, they're trying to stop that at the airport, but it used to be done. In 1926, all the Moroccan palm trees that we see today were carried in from Morocco, and now we have those kind of palm trees here, and they're everywhere. I have one in my yard, and there's one across the road. Where they come from, people were just vacationing and went, that's a beautiful plant. There's nothing like it where I come from. Let me take one back with me. A lot of succulents that look very alien too, if you actually study different succulent forms. The idea that they would have technology interchanges with us, that's not too bizarre either. If you Google that and look for technology interchange between our government and alien governments, you'll find, I think they even slipped up on a video, that President Trump was trying to introduce medbeds to the public, and that aired, and it was on the news, and then it was suddenly pulled because there are medical establishments with interest in keeping people sick. So if you had an actual medbed that could cure diabetes, regenerate limbs, fix bone diseases, fix blood disorders, eliminate cancer, where would be the profits for those companies that are putting in kidney dialysis factories, like businesses going? You should look at the stocks for these different kidney dialysis companies, how much they're invested in sickness, and betting the pot that people will be sicker in the future and that they will profit greatly from creating more of these dialysis centers. It is not beyond reason to think that some of our technology was traded for, or at least some of our people, our DNA, our reproductive fluids, or ova, were traded in exchange for technologies that have been kept under wraps, and the government knows about them, and the elite have access to them, but the elite are profiting off of your sickness, and they don't want the medbeds to be released to the public. Medbeds, talk of them, have been around for at least 20 years that I know of, and I believe that the idea of, I want to call it purple light, lavender light, scanning for germs is now in some devices that were actually introduced into airports, that people could walk under the lights to scan them, to clean them up. It's used for machines that clean air and clean germs. It's used for sterilization, and it's been used for other things too. Some of the blue light is being used in dentistry work. It was used in Blu-ray players, DVD players. It has slowly been leaked into our technology, but as for actually letting us be well, using it to make us well, they're still kind of holding back with that because people are still trying to figure out how to drain the swamp. Like, let's get the bad players out who are holding back this technology so that it can be released to the public so that we can benefit. So med beds are a thing. Heaven is a thing. Akashic records are real. I just watched a video of a man that crossed over, and he, in Christian terminology, talked about the book or the notes or something that are being written about your life, and basically it was Akashic records. we're speaking slightly different languages to describe exactly the same kinds of things. That everything that you're doing on your life path is being documented, and everything that you think and everything that you know, everything that you believe is part of all of the records, the eternal records of everything that we're accomplishing in our missions, in our life paths on Earth. So it is very possible that when you reach a state where you're about to cross over, there is some sort of a reckoning with your energy vibration and saying this person is positive enough to go into the light, or this person cannot go into the light because they are too filled with darkness. And this man who is following Buddhism says, because I didn't have any belief in the afterlife, and I didn't even believe in light or love, or that God was love, I was sent into this dark place, because what was there left for me? The only alternative was the dark place, until I find what God is, until I understand that there is a loving God there, till I understand that it wasn't just all about me. It was very self-centered. I was praying to have my own lives forgiven. I was only praying for myself. And he says, I guess that was my big mistake. And that reckoning came. And he said, now I understand that there really is God. I believe he actually did meet Jesus, because again, that's a gatekeeper that everybody meets when they cross over. I watched another near-death experience or video of a Jewish man who had a heart attack and fell down in the street. And sure enough, he crossed over and met Jesus. And he said, I am the God of Isaiah and Abraham. And he starts mentioning all these different prophets. And he goes, they all worshipped me. So I don't know where you went wrong in your thinking, that I'm somehow not part of the picture, because here I am and I'm still the gatekeeper. So, all right. Just for legal, just for the legal side of things, I need to tell you that everything I say is my own opinion. Of course, I'm repeating back everybody else's stories and all of the research and all of the documentation that I've read or seen or witnessed. And I hope that you will grow from these videos. That's my goal, is to share things so that we have honest feedback together. And if you have any similar experiences that resonate, that are like what I'm sharing, please put them in the comments below. My goal is to enlighten everyone, to connect everyone, to make you all understand and realize how we're all connected and that we're all growing together. This earth is a little ball hurling through the sky. We're all hurling together. I hope to help everybody in some way or another to feel more connection and to understand that God is right here with us all the time. The Great Spirit, the Creator, all that is, the oneness, the one. Historically it's been called a lot of different things. It's a he, she, it. It is a very intelligent light being. It is everything around us that is manifested from light and from vibration. And I thank you for being here with me today. Do Google articles on medbeds and see what you can find. I do believe in Santa Clara there's actually some sort of a conference coming up where they discuss this advanced technology, and medbeds will be featured in that Santa Clara conference. All right, guys, share, like, subscribe, go to the link below and buy me a coffee, and have a blessed day, you luminous spiritual beings, and I'll speak to you again later.